You wrote in a recent article that the mood in India seems to be quite different from what you're picking up in Europe and the United States. Could you explain that to our viewers, your sense from your recent visit of how you think India sees India at the moment, now the rest of the world is seeing India?
Broadly speaking, in the United States and Western Europe, there is a great deal of caution. There's a great deal of concern. I'm not even sure I'd call it pessimism, but sometimes it morphs into pessimism about the fact that the changes that are taking place in the world, while they have many extraordinary benefits for America and Europe, most of them originate in America and Europe, you know, the big technological changes like artificial intelligence. But they have the effect of widening inequality in the US, in Europe. They have the effect of creating a more complicated society, one torn apart in some ways between, you know, educated and non-educated, urban and non-urban, the people who are more traditional in their lifestyles and people who are more secular. In India, I think because it is at an earlier stage of development, the changes that have taken place over the last 20 years, globalization, technological changes, have all lifted, I wouldn't say all boats, but lots of boats in India. And so there's a much greater general optimism and embrace of the changes taking place in the world. India is one of the most optimistic countries in the world, I think, because it sees what is happening and it believes that it is producing pretty widespread benefits. They aren't accruing to everyone, and as I've often pointed out, India needs to focus on including those who have not been included, women, Muslims, other minorities. But by and large, there is a general optimism in India that I think is very striking and quite frankly infectious. You know, you come back from India very charged.
What's your assessment of the performance of the Narendra Modi government, especially when you look back at the kind of concerns or views you may have had about the Prime Minister when he started out in government in 2014 and how India has done in the last 9 years? Morgan Stanley in a recent report said that the last 9 years have been transformative and India is set to be the third largest economy in the world by 2027-28. How are you seeing the performance of the Indian government?
Modi's government has done a very good job on the economy. They have done a very good job on the economy in two fundamental ways. One, they've managed things much better than Indian governments have tended to do. There's just better management, less corruption, less drift in some ways. There's a great deal of competence. They have not done as many reforms as I would have liked. Some of that is that they were stymied by them. You know, the agricultural reforms have been doing stuff on land and labor in India is very difficult, and they have not succeeded at that. But what they have been able to do is to competently execute on a number of different fronts, particularly on infrastructure, digital infrastructure and physical infrastructure. So I think those are huge plus points. It's worth pointing out that, you know, this is again part of a longer story. If you look at the average growth rate of the Modi government, it's not that different from the average growth rate of the preceding government. And in fact, you know, to be fair and to give credit where it's due, ever since Rajiv Gandhi, there has been a move toward liberalization, and you have seen growth rates pick up. But you know, for a while, India was very poor. And so when you're going from $300 per capita GDP and you're growing even at 5, 6, 7%, you don't see much. So what has happened is you've had the cumulative effect of 25 years of growth. But as I say, you cannot deny that the Modi government has executed very well. They've done it, you know, I have to confess, I assumed that Modi would be good at this, and he has proved to be good at this because of the experience of Gujarat. On the Hindu nationalist front, I've been disappointed by the fact that the government has not reached out to all Indians. You know, that's unfortunate. I hope it changes. I think, you know, it is a reality right now, for example, that the entire ruling coalition in the Lok Sabha, to the best of my knowledge, has not a single Muslim. And, you know, there are about 200 million Muslims in India, and so that lack of representation is not, I mean, it's not what you'd hope for from the, from the world's biggest democracy. And those areas I have been disappointed, and I hope that, the glory of Indian democracy is that nothing stays the same forever, that there is, and you see it, frankly, in UP, there is a change. Even the BJP is reaching out in different ways. And I hope they'll realize that, Indians are, I mean, I grew up in India. India is remarkably unified in terms of the attitude of its citizens. People want to be Indian first, before caste, creed, religion,